This is of Malice and Mirth.
Hello.
Hello.
Happy Sunday Fun Day.
Sunday Fun Day.
Welcome to Oh Ma'am
Of Malice and Mirth.
Dun dun dun. And then the laughter. Sorry about that. That's just how we laugh.
Yes.
But yeah, welcome to episode 8.
Welcome back, y'all. And if you're just now finding us, feel free to go back to episode 1. The audio is not as great as it is now.
Say, even in just the past 8 episodes, we've gone through a fucking journey.
Yes.
With this audio. We have gone through multiple mics, multiple
mixer thingies.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh my God. We're learning a lot.
But we're trying, y'all.
Yeah. And we really like our new mic, so yes. We hope you do too.
Yes, we really do. And we are so appreciative for all the people that have stuck around this long.
Yeah.
And we hope you stay forever.
Forever and ever. And ever. Oh, I can't really growl. My daughter does it so well. Oh, yeah. We forgot we were going to let her come in here and say her hello.
Oh, yeah.
Let's just do it real quick and hold on.
Welcome to episode 8.
And that was my daughter. She was like obsessed with the idea of doing the intro for us.
Yes.
And I completely forgot. So we did just let her come do it.
But it was
perfect. Anyways, today we are talking about mermaids. And then we have a couple Reddit stories as well. And these are true ones too.
Yes. I'm so excited.
Yes. So this is going to be very exciting. So shall we get into it?
Yeah.
Okay. I will go first with my story. My story. Well, okay. So when we think of mermaids, we usually picture something whimsical, beautiful, seductive. Maybe singing on a rock while sailors make poor life choices. Right? But long before Disney, long before medieval sailors, long before folklore turned mermaids into curiosities, there was Atargatis. She wasn't just a mermaid. She was a goddess, feared, worshipped, and powerful enough that entire cities were built in her honor. Ooh. Tonight we're diving into her origins, her religion, the gods around her, and the moment she became something not quite divine and not quite human.
Ooh, okay.
To understand Atargatis, we have to go back, which, by the way, I want to say, I Googled how to pronounce her name, of course, and this is how it says to say it, Atargatis.
Okay.
To me, it looks like it should be like Atargatis. Okay. Something more like that.
Yeah.
But we're going to say Atargatis because that's what
Google said.
And it flows off the tongue better.
Okay. So. I feel like I would have to like stop and like phonics it out.
Yeah. Well, and when you do that, it does say Atargatis, kind of.
Okay.
But it also says Atargatis.
You put the right emphasis on the right syllable.
Yes, pretty much. But anyways, so we're going back to the ancient Near East. We're talking about Assyrian and Syrian religion, a melting pot of beliefs that blended Mesopotamian, Canaanite, and local Syrian traditions. Gods here weren't distant or abstract, they were deeply involved in daily life. This world was ruled by fertility gods, storm gods, moon gods, and sea gods. Water meant life, because they're in the desert.
Okay.
So fish meant survival, and fertility of crops, animals, and people was everything. Now I can't say it. Atargatis. Atargatis emerged from this worldview as a mother goddess associated with fertility, protection, water, fish, and the continuation of life itself.
So all the things.
She was like this. She was like the head goddess, basically.
Okay. She's a HBITC.
She is.
Yeah, I had to think about that.
Atargatis is often described as a Syrian fertility goddess, sometimes called the Great Mother of Syria. And the stories about her, they're not gentle. She was seen as a protector of women, a guardian of childbirth, a goddess of sacred waters, and a divine authority over fish and aquatic life. In temples dedicated to her, fish were sacred, so sacred that harming one was considered a crime against the goddess herself. Her priests wouldn't eat fish. I would die, personally, because that's the only meat I eat is fish.
Right. They were saving all the Nemos.
They were saved. Yes. Her worshippers decorated temples with aquatic symbols, and statues of Atargatis often showed her as part woman, part fish. But she didn't start that way. Early versions of Atargatis described her as fully human in form, a radiant goddess of the earth and sky. She was closely associated with Hadad, the storm god, a powerful deity tied to rain, thunder, and fertility of the land. Some traditions say that she was his consort, and others say she was his feminine counterpart.
Okay.
So in some, they were like in a relationship. Some of them, they were like the same, but female and male counterparts. Right. Either way, she wasn't a minor goddess. She was a pillar of their pantheon. And then she fell. And this is where the story turns tragic. Aww. According to ancient accounts, Atargatis fell in love with a mortal shepherd.
Okay.
Already this is a red flag. God's loving humans never goes smoothly.
No.
Never. In some versions, the relationship was consensual and loving. In others, it was impulsive, even reckless. Either way, Atargatis became pregnant. And for a goddess associated with purity, order, and fertility, this was catastrophic. Atargatis gave birth to a daughter. Overwhelmed by shame, guilt, and fear, she abandoned the child in the wilderness. Yeah. So not Mother of the Year award.
No.
That child, according to legend, survived, though. She was fed and protected by doves, which are birds that are sacred to Atargatis. Which I'm like, are they sacred because they took care of your child for you?
My brain just went, she was Cinderella with all the animals.
With all the animals around her. Ah! The child would later become
Wait, was that Cinderella? No, that was Snow White.
Snow White. And then I came in with Enchanted, the movie. Never mind. We don't watch enough Disney, apparently. But the child would later become Semiramis. There we go. Semiramis.
Okay.
Which is a really pretty name that I can't say. A legendary queen said to be one of the greatest rulers in ancient history.
Oh, wait, that was her name?
Mm-hmm.
Semiramis. Semiramis. I like that.
Semiramis, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's pretty. But she became one of the greatest rulers in ancient history.
Okay.
But Atargatis didn't feel relief. She felt horror. In some versions of the myth, Atargatis accidentally kills her lover. In others, she orders his death out of shame. Either way, the result is the same. She is consumed by regret. This isn't a goddess shrugging off her consequences, though. This is a deity collapsing under the weight of her own actions. Broken and desperate to escape her shame, Atargatis throws herself into a lake. Her intention, to end herself. But gods don't die that easily. The water transforms her. Her legs fuse together, her body reshapes, scales form where skin once was. She becomes something new, something in between. Atargatis emerges from the water half woman, half fish, not as a punishment, but as a transformation. The lake refused to kill her, instead it claimed her. From that moment on, she is no longer just a fertility goddess, she becomes a mermaid deity, the earliest known in human history.
Okay.
Yep. And this matters because this is thousands of years before European mermaid legends. Atargatis isn't inspired by folklore, she is the origin. After her transformation, fish are no longer just animals. They are symbols of Atargatis herself. Killing a fish becomes taboo. Eating fish becomes forbidden. Her temples contain sacred fish ponds where fish were protected like holy relics. To harm them was to harm the goddess. Worship of Atargatis was intense. Priests dressed in feminine garments. Some accounts describe ritual castration meant to honor her suffering and devotion. This wasn't casual belief. This was total surrender to a goddess who embodied creation, destruction, sexuality, and regret all at once. She wasn't gentle, she was real. Unlike the male sea gods who often ruled through force, storms, and monsters, Atargatis ruled through fertility and life. She wasn't the ocean's rage, she was its womb.
Oh.
She represents water as sustenance, water as transformation, and water as forgiveness. And also, water as something you can't escape. Greek writers later encountered her cult and were deeply unsettled by it. They described her as strange, exotic, and dangerous.
Dangerous.
And over time, her image softened. Her tragedy faded a little. Her goddesshood disappeared. And all that remained was the tale, the mermaid. But here's the thing. Atargatis isn't a playful siren. She's a reminder that transformation often comes from grief. That mythology didn't start as entertainment. It started as an explanation. Why do we fear the water? Why does it pull us? Why does it change us? Atargatis answers that question. Atargatis wasn't created to be beautiful. She was created to explain something people were afraid of. Why water both gives life and takes it. Why love can ruin you, and why shame can change the shape of a soul. She didn't become a mermaid because she wanted to escape humanity. She became one because she couldn't live with it anymore. And that's what makes her unsettling. She isn't a warning about curiosity. She isn't a monster punishing sailors. She's a god who tried to disappear and instead became something that could never be ignored. So the next time you hear a story about something watching from beneath the surface, something beautiful that doesn't quite feel safe, remember that the very first mermaid wasn't born in a fairy tale. She was born in grief, and the water never forgot her.
That's so sad.
Isn't that sad? Your face, I'm sorry. And I even told her, oh, it's a little bit lighter of a story.
Right? Lies?
It is kind of darker than I let on, I guess.
Yeah.
Oops. So how is your story? Is it dark too, or is it... What is it?
I'll let you be the judge.
Okay, just because you don't want me to call you a liar.
You got me. I'm not going to tell you, though. You got to listen.
Okay. Well, I'm ready whenever you are.
So... this story doesn't have a title.
Okay. We'll make one up at the end.
Okay, so this story is by me, as always, with help.
As always.
All right. So since it doesn't have a name at the moment, we are going to go ahead and just jump right in. Ready?
Okay.
The pressurized chamber hissed, a dry metallic sound that Gideon usually found comforting. It was the sound of safety, of controlled environments. Outside the thick reinforced glass of the rig's lower deck, the Atlantic was a wall of ink. O2 levels at 21%. Internal pressure stabilized at 15 psi. Gideon spoke into his comms. His voice was gravelly, a byproduct of 20 years breathing recycled air. Copy that, Gideon, the comms tech Miller crackled back. You're clear to egress. Just a routine inspection of the strut stabilizers. Should be a milk run, as you say. Gideon grunted, pulling the heavy pressurized helmet over his head. The seal clicked, a definitive suffocating finality. He stepped into the moon pool, the water churning beneath his boots. To everyone else, the black water looked like an abyss waiting to swallow them whole. To Gideon, it was just a job site. He submerged. The transition from air to water was a slow motion descent into silence. The only sounds were the rhythmic mechanical thrum hiss of his rebreather and the distant, low-frequency groan of the rig's massive steel legs. He switched on his high-intensity shoulder lamps. 2 beams of artificial white light cut through the silt, illuminating the massive barnacle-encrusted strut. Beginning inspection of strut 4 Alpha, he muttered. He pulled a specialized ultrasonic tester from his belt and pressed it against the steel. Beep, beep, beep. It was boring. It was perfect. Gideon focused on the numbers on his wrist display. 140 feet deep, 48 degrees Fahrenheit, 18 minutes of bottom time remaining. He was a man of logic, anchored by the certainty of physics. Then the static began. It wasn't the usual electronic interference from the rig. It was a hum low at first, vibrating in the marrow of his teeth. It felt less like a sound and more like a memory of a warmth he hadn't felt in years. "Miller, you're coming in hot on the comms. Tone it down," Gideon said, squinting into the darkness. "I'm not transmitting, Gideon," Miller's voice came through, tiny and tinny. "Check your seals. You might have a pressure leak causing a whistle." Gideon checked his gauges. Everything was green. 140 feet, 48 degrees. But the hum was changing. It was spiraling upward into a melody, a sequence of notes so pure they made the pressurized air in his lungs feel like honey. He turned his head, his shoulder lamp sweeping the void, and saw a flash. It was almost like he blinked and caught something in his peripheral. Gideon held his breath, a cardinal sin for a diver, trying to isolate the sound. The silence that followed was heavy, pressing against his eardrums with the weight of 1,000 tons of seawater. The pale flash he thought he saw was gone. "Gideon, report. You've been stationary for 60 seconds, Miller's voice cut through the trance, sounding annoyingly frantic. Gideon blinked, his eyes stinging behind the mask. "I thought I saw a reflection. Likely a stray piece of mylar or high-gloss bioluminescence. It's gone now." "Your heart rate is spiking, dude. Are you sure you're not getting the squeeze?" "I'm fine," Gideon snapped, though his hands were trembling as he gripped the ultrasonic tester. "It's just the silt. Visibility is dropping." He forced himself back to the strut. Beep, beep. The numbers on the screen were steady, but the hum hadn't truly stopped. It had simply moved. It was no longer coming from the water. It felt like it was coming from inside his helmet. A soft, melodic vibration that felt like a woman's breath against the back of his neck.
Oh.
He spun around, the twin beams of his lamp slashing through the darkness. Nothing. Just endless, yawning darkness in front of him. He shone his light downward, past his dangling fins. The beams reached their limit and died, swallowed by a depth that felt bottomless. Down there in the dark, he felt a strange magnetic pull. Not a physical current, but a psychological one. A sudden, irrational urge to unclip his safety tether and just drift. "Miller!" Gideon snapped. Gideon snapped, his voice cracking. "Do we have any other teams in the water? Any unauthorized submersibles?" "Negative. You're the only soul for 50 miles, Gideon. Why?" "I keep hearing... It sounds like a voice. High frequency, almost like singing." A long pause followed. "Gideon, listen to me. Nitrogen narcosis can hit even the veterans. You're narked, man. You're seeing and hearing things because your brain is drunk on nitrogen. Abort the inspection. Come up to the bell for a slow deco now." Gideon looked at his depth gauge, 140 feet. He was well within the safety limit. He wasn't drunk on gas. He was as sober as he'd ever been. He turned his light back toward the void one last time. For a split second, he saw it again. A ripple in the water like the wake of something massive and graceful, moving just beyond the reach of his lamps. Then, a single note, so clear it bypassed his ears and resonated directly in his skull. It hit him. It was the sound of such profound, aching beauty that the cold, dark Atlantic suddenly felt like a warm, sun-drenched room.
Oh my God.
"Gideon, do you copy? Get back to the bell." Gideon reached up and clicked the comms to mute. The silence was instantaneous and delicious. He unclipped his tether, the heavy carabiner clinking softly against the belt as it fell away. He wasn't afraid anymore. He was sure the creepiness was just his mind playing tricks. And if his mind was playing tricks, then he had to prove it. But there was nothing. Gideon looked at the metal ladder leading back to the surface. It looked ugly. It looked lonely. The light from the rig above seemed harsh and artificial compared to the velvet invitation of the dark. The climb back was a blur of mechanical muscle memory. Gideon reached the diving bell, hauled himself up into a narrow airlock, and waited for the water to drain. The moment the seal broke, he pulled his helmet off. The air hit him like a physical blow, stale, smelling of sweaty neoprene. Miller's voice exploded from the wall-mounted speaker. "Gideon, what the hell was that?" Gideon sat on the narrow bench, his hair matted to his forehead. He didn't look at the camera. He looked at his hands. They were trembling, but not from the cold. "Pressure snagged on the clip," he lied, his voice sounding hollow in the small chamber. "Comms had a short. I'm fine, Miller. Just a bad dive." "Bad? You look like you were going for a stroll to the bottom. Get in the decompression chamber. I'm bringing the bell up." As the bell began its slow, jerking ascent, Gideon leaned his head against the cold steel hull. He was supposed to feel relief. He was supposed to feel the safety of the rig's massive structure surrounding him. Instead, he felt a crushing sense of grief. It was as if he'd been pulled away from the most important moment of his life. Then he heard it. Tink, tink, tink. A sound on the outside of the hull. It wasn't the rhythmic thud of a cable or the rush of bubbles. It was the sound of fingernails, delicate feminine fingernails, tapping against the thick, reinforced steel. Gideon froze. He pressed his ear to the metal. Through the 3-inch thick hole, the sound returned. It was muffled now, filtered through the steel and water, but it was more intimate. It wasn't a melody anymore, it was a whisper. It sounded like his name sung by a choir of 1,000 voices. He looked at the porthole. The water outside was rushing past as they ascended. It was nothing but a chaotic mess of bubbles and dark green foam. The post-dive medical check was a blur. Miller poked and prodded, checking Gideon's pupils and his oxygen saturation, muttering about nitrogen bubbles in the brain. Gideon just nodded, his mind 1,000 miles away, or rather 100 feet below. He finally reached his bunk, a cramped, steel-walled coffin of a room in the crew quarters. The rig hummed with the constant industrial throb of the generators. It was a loud, jarring environment meant to be ignored. Gideon lay back, staring at the perforated metal ceiling. He closed his eyes, waiting for the sleep to take the edge off the strange, lingering vibration in his chest. The white noise of the room began to change. It started as a low-frequency pulse, timed exactly to the beat of his own heart. Then, the industrial noise of the rig, the clanking pipes, the whirring fans began to harmonize. The sounds didn't stop, they transformed. The screech of a distant winch became a high, sustained violin note. The groan of the hull against the current became a deep, resonant cello. And then, cutting through the mechanical symphony, came the voice. It wasn't muffled by the ocean anymore. It sounded as if the voice was coming from the corner of his dark cabin. Then as if someone was leaning over his bed, lips inches away from his ear. "Gideon." The sound was absolute, devastatingly beautiful. It didn't feel like a song. It felt like a physical hand reaching into his chest and pulling. It was a plea, urgent and frantic, as if she were calling to him from the edge of a fire. It promised him things he hadn't realized he'd lost. The scent of wild jasmine, the warmth of the sun that never set, and a silence that wasn't lonely. He sat up gasping. The room was empty. The shadows were just shadows. "It's the narcosis," he whispered into the dark, his voice trembling. "It's just a lingering effect." But as he sat there...
It's fine. All is fine.
Everything's fine. But as he sat there, he noticed a small detail, a single, dark, wet footprint on the floor by his door.
Not a fin print? A footprint?
A footprint.
Oh, okay.
He stared at it, his heart hammering. Then he looked at his own feet. They were dry. He looked at the ceiling. No leaks. The song resumed. It swelled, becoming a command. It wasn't just in his head. The very air in the room felt thick, like he was breathing underwater. The urgency was a physical weight, a pressure behind his eyes that told him he had to go back. Not tomorrow, not for the next shift. Now. He stood up, his movements jerky, like a puppet on a string. He didn't grab his boots. He didn't grab his jacket. He walked out of his cabin and into the dimly lit corridor, his bare feet silent on the cold grating. That was hard for me to say. Every light on the rig seemed too bright. Every mechanical noise a disgusting insult to the melody in his head. He was moving toward the moon pool, toward the blackness of the Atlantic. And for the first time in his life, he wasn't afraid of the water. He was afraid of the air. The moon pool was a cavern of yellow caution tape and echoing steel. The water below was a square of midnight, churning with a rhythmic swell of the sea. Gideon moved with a terrifyingly singular purpose. He didn't bother with the full suit this time. He didn't need the weight. He just grabbed a spare pony bottle and a mask, his fingers working the buckles for memory while his mind stayed locked on the melody. The song was roaring now, a golden shimmering tide of a sound that made the rig feel like a rotting carcass he had to escape. Gideon, what are you doing on the monitor? Miller's voice came through the deck speakers, panicked and sharp. Step away from the edge, man. You're not in gear. Gideon! Gideon didn't flinch. The sound of Miller's voice was like gravel being thrown against a window, meaningless and irritating. He stepped off the platform.
The fuck?
Gideon, for the love of... Listen to me! Miller's voice cracked through the underwater comms of his mask, but it was breaking up, distorted by the depths. I'm looking at the exterior hull cam. Gideon, get out of there. There's someone right behind you. Gideon felt a shift in the water, a displacement of weight. Gideon, she's right there. Miller was screaming now, his voice jagged-edged with pure terror. She's got her arms around your neck. Oh God, her face, Gideon. Look at her. She isn't human. Gideon drifted, suspended in the weightless void. He felt it then. The touch was as light as a physical sigh, a pair of slender porcelain arms draped over his shoulders from behind. Long, silk-soft hair swirled around his mask, framing his vision in iridescence. He didn't turn around. He didn't need to. In his mind, he saw her, the goddess of the deep with the eyes like stars and smile that promised him the end of all his sorrows. To him, her touch was the warmest thing he'd ever known. She's beautiful, Miller. Gideon whispered.
Sorry.
Gideon whispered into the comms. His voice was thick, blissfully detached. She's ripping your regulator out, Miller shrieked, his voice fading into static. Gideon, she's... And the comms went dead.
No.
Gideon felt the mask being pulled gently from his face. He didn't fight it. He didn't care about the oxygen or the pressure or the cold. He looked up, and through the blurring salt water, he finally saw her face clearly. She was the most exquisite thing he had ever seen, a masterpiece of light and grace. He smiled, opening his mouth to join her song, even as the first rush of freezing brine filled his lungs. Miller leaned in so close at the monitors that the static-charged air made the hair on his arm stand up. His hands were white-knuckled on the console. Gideon, look at her. She isn't human. On the screen, the high-definition camera cut through the silt, and Miller's voice died in his throat. And the coldness that he felt settled in his bones had nothing to do with the ocean. The thing clinging to Gideon's back was a nightmare of cruelty. Its skin wasn't marble or porcelain. It was a gray, translucent hide that looked like it was made of a million fine, overlapping razors, built to shred anything it touched. The silk hair was actually a thick, writhing mass of jellyfish-like tentacles, each one glowing a sickly, venomous light as they wrapped around Gideon's neck. Its eyes were the worst part, massive, clueless orbs that occupied half its face, black and hollow like the void itself. Only the tail was beautiful, a long, iridescent fin of shimmering gold and emerald that moved with grace, that looked like an insult to the horror above it. Gideon, your ears, you're hemorrhaging, Miller yelled, his voice cracking with a sob. On the screen, Gideon's mask was filling with You better cut that out.
No, sir. No, I will not.
Excuse that. Okay, let's try that again.
We're children. Okay.
On the screen, Gideon's mask was filling with a thick, dark cloud of gore. It looked like ink in the water, but Gideon was stroking those razor-edged arms as if they were the softest velvet. He was leaning back.
He's still in his... Oh, my God.
He was leaning back into the stingers, his eyes glazed with terrifying bliss. She's ripping your regulator out. Gideon, she's... The creature's hands, webbed and tipped with jagged bone, reached for the helmet latches. With one effortless, violent jerk, it tore the metal from its housing. The audio feed exploded into a screech of static as the comms cable was severed, leaving Miller in a sudden, suffocating silence. Miller watched, frozen, as the helmet was pulled away. He waited for Gideon to wake up to see the razor skin and the jellyfish hair and the hollow eyes, but Gideon never did. Even as Miller saw the freezing Atlantic rush in to fill Gideon's lungs, Gideon reached out and cut the creature's monstrous, unhinged jaw. It looked as though Gideon thought he was touching a goddess, looking into those massive black voids, seeing stars. Miller saw Gideon's lips move one last time, as though he were whispering soft words into the salt water. Miller read with perfect, gut-wrenching clarity, "She's beautiful." The creature's iridescent tail flicked once, and the camera lens shattered. The monitor went black, leaving Miller alone in the control room, haunted by the image of a man who died smiling at a nightmare.
Oh my Jesus. Holy shit, dude. That was intense.
And that's my mermaid story.
Oh my God, that was awesome.
Yeah.
I love how at the end he's seeing a completely different version than the guy who's being entrapped.
Yeah.
Because that made me think about it, because like I don't know a whole lot about mermaids and sirens like in folklore.
Yeah.
I've only heard like bits and pieces and then seen movies, of course.
Right.
But like most of the time they like don't show themselves in their mermaid form to anyone but that one person.
Right.
So I'm wondering if other people are looking,
what do they
see, you know?
Yeah.
Like,
and that's like what I wanted to do with this story. Like I wanted her to be beautiful to him, because I wanted it to be like beauty is in the eye of the beholder. So like he sees,
getting deep with your shit.
Yeah. So he sees this most beautiful thing on earth, and Miller's seeing this like horrifying creature that he doesn't even know what he's seeing.
Yeah. Well, you did it.
Yes.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That was awesome, though.
Thanks.
All right. Well, next, like, turning a different direction, we do have 2 Reddit stories that are true stories.
That we're super excited about.
That are really cool. So, my first one is called, "My friend took me to a haunted campground. We went out. My friend took me to a haunted playground." Nope. That's not what it says. That's not what that says.
One more time.
You got this, girl. "My friend took me to a haunted campground. We weren't alone out there."
Pause.
That's all it says.
Okay.
Don't know why it was so hard.
Can I give you a side note?
What?
Do you remember when we went camping?
Like vaguely.
Okay, so you're like, "Hey, let's go camping." And I'm like, "Okay, let's go." So we jump in.
Wait, how old were we? Like 18, 19?
Something like that.
Okay.
Something like that. So we jump in the car with your sister and someone else. I don't remember who it was.
Yeah. The other girl. Yeah.
So we jump in the car. It's a convertible. Get super sunburnt on the way down because we were going to a park, right? That was like, what, an hour and a half or so
yeah, it's
away?
about an hour and a half away.
So we get there, have no tent. We have no sleeping bags. I think we had a pillow and a blanket. We danced the night away at the little concert thingy that they had there, and we rented a spot. Like, not even, it's supposed to be like a camping spot where you set up like a tent. And obviously we didn't have that because we were just like spur of the moment.
Yeah.
And we get there, lay out the blanket and the pillow, and I'm like, "Okay, it's time to go to bed." And you hear every little like creak and twig snap, and you're like, "Oh my God, what's that? Oh my God, what's that?" I'm like, "Whitney, go to sleep." And I just remember having my pocket knife under my pillow. I'm like, "We're safe. I have the pocket knife under my pillow. Go to sleep." And we ended up not sleeping that night because I'm like, "It's probably just a deer. It's fine." And you're like, "No, what's that?" Do you remember any of that?
No, but I do believe it because I went camping there all the fucking time. And most of the time I went in the minivan, and I would take out the seats and just have pillows and blankets in the back of the minivan. And like me and Kayla would go all the time. And then me and my friend from college, she started going with me, and I went there a lot, and not once did I have a tent.
Yes.
I didn't buy a tent until I got with Zach, and he was like, a tent is mandatory if you want me to go camping with you.
Yes. So we tried to make it beautiful, sleep under the stars, all natural like. And every little twig snap, you just would not go to sleep.
Nope. Because I bet you it's because I was so used to having the van.
Yeah.
So I felt I would feel safer in it, because nothing can get me in the van with the doors open. I don't know. I don't know where my brain was. I probably had been doing things that underage children should not be doing. So,
well, just know that we did not get any sleep and rode back in that convertible super sunburnt and grumpy because we were tired.
Sounds like we had an adventure.
Yes. Okay, back to the story. Sorry, guys.
So let's try this title one last time, and maybe I'll get it.
You got this.
My friend took me to a haunted campground. We weren't alone out there. Ta-da!
You did it!
Okay. It is written by Pentyworth223. Pentyworth223. And I'll have that written out in the show notes if you want to go look at more of their stuff. Okay. I didn't go out there because I believed in ghosts. I went because my friend did, and because he'd been texting me for a week straight like a kid trying to convince his mom to buy a new game. Dude, it's not just some abandoned campground, he said, tapping the steering wheel with one hand while the other held up his phone like he was presenting evidence in court. People swear it's haunted. People swear everything is haunted, I told him. My aunt thinks the microwave is possessed because it beeps twice. He laughed, but it wasn't his normal laugh. He had that wired excitement behind it, the kind he got when he'd been doom-scrolling conspiracy threads. I feel seen. We were on a narrow 2-lane road with trees packed tight on both sides. The sun was already low enough that the light through the branches looked stretched and thin, like someone smeared gold paint across glass. He had insisted we'd go late because, quote, it's only creepy if it's near dark. Well, true. Which is how you know a guy doesn't actually believe he's going to get hurt. If he did, he'd want noon in a crowd in self-service. What's the name again? I asked. He hesitated. It's not really on the signs anymore. That's comforting. He rolled his eyes. It used to be a youth camp. Then it became the park-run campground. Then they shut it down. Why? Budget, vandals, whatever. He shrugged, but he was still smiling. Also, listen, there was that hiker that went missing last month off the trail near it. I stared at him. You're just now mentioning that? It's the whole point, he said, like it was obvious. People online are saying they heard crying out there, like real crying, and the park says it's probably coyotes, which is what they always say. So you read a forum post and decided to become a volunteer search party. Not a search party, he said quickly, just looking, seeing if it's true. I watched the tree line whip past. Every now and then a reflective post would flash in the headlights like an eye. And the missing hiker, I asked, they found anything? A backpack, footprints, a phone? He shook his head. No, just gone. The article said he'd stepped off a trail for a bathroom break and didn't come back. That's not a horror story, I said. That's a guy who got lost and died. He glanced at me, offended. You always do that. You always make it boring. Boring is how you survive. He made a noise like that was cute, turned off onto a gravel road, and the car started rattling like it had suddenly remembered it was made of parts.
Nope.
No service bars. My phone went to SOS and stayed there.
Absolutely not.
He didn't notice or pretended not to. A broken wooden sign appeared in the headlights, half swallowed by vines. The lettering was faded, like the sun had licked it blank. I could just make out camp before the rest disappeared. We drove past an old entrance gate, hanging open on one hinge. It feels like we're trespassing, I said. It's public land, he replied immediately, too rehearsed. It's just closed. There's a difference. Uh-huh. He parked in a dirt turnaround that used to be an actual lot. There were potholes deep enough to hide in. Grass grew up through the cracked asphalt like veins. We got out, both of us doing that automatic pause people do when they step into real quiet. The air smelled like wet leaves and old wood. Somewhere deeper in the trees, something tapped, branch on branch, or someone walking, or something walking. He slung his backpack on, flashed his phone flashlight like a weapon, and grinned at me. "All right," he said. "You ready to get haunted?" I wasn't, but I followed him anyway. The campground wasn't just abandoned, it was left behind. Cabins with broken windows and peeled paint sat in rows like teeth. Picnic tables were tipped on their sides, half sunk into mud. A dead fire ring filled with wet ash looked like a mouth. There were old bulletin boards with warped plexiglass, the paper inside still visible in places. Faded camp rules, maps, a schedule of activities from years ago. It looked like the place had stopped mid-sentence and never started again. That's a cool way to describe that, actually. He walked ahead like he owned it. I walked behind, scanning without meaning to. Tree line, cabin corners, anywhere something could be watching. "See?" he whispered, like whispering made it more real. "This is perfect." "Perfect for tetanus," I muttered. He snorted. We moved deeper, following an old gravel path. It had been a loop once, but now it was just a scar in the ground. The woods were reclaiming it in slow bites. Then I saw the first thing that made my skin tighten. A strip of cloth caught on a low branch. Not old camp gear, not a faded flag or a torn tarp. It was newer, dark fabric, like a sleeve. I stopped and stared. "What?" he called from a few steps ahead. I pointed. "That." He walked back, leaned in, and frowned. "Could be trash," he said. "It's not sun-bleached. It's not old." He reached for it, then stopped like he remembered he wasn't supposed to touch evidence. "Maybe someone camped here recently," he said, but his voice didn't have the same bounce now. We kept going. The cloth stayed in my head like a bad taste. The further in we went, the more the place felt staged. Not in like a movie way, in a wrong way. Like the trees were arranged to hide things.
Ooh.
Like every open space had too many blind corners. He kept talking to fill the silence. That's what he does when he gets nervous. Jokes, stories, anything to keep the air from getting heavy. "You know what the thread said?" he whispered. "It said if you stand by the old mess hall and listen, you can hear kids crying."
Oh.
"Kids crying where?" I asked. "Into the void?" He elbowed me. "Don't ruin it." We came to a cluster of buildings at the center, a larger cabin that might have been the office, a long, low structure with a collapsed roof, and bizarrely, a small schoolhouse. I stopped. "A school?" I said. "Here?" "Yeah," he said, pleased I was impressed. "They did classes during the summer, like wilderness education or whatever." The schoolhouse was broken in a way that didn't feel accidental. One whole side was caved in, like something heavy had leaned its shoulder into it.
Oh.
Boards hung loose. The window frames were empty mouths. We stepped up to it and he nudged the door, which creaked open like it hated us. Inside, the air was colder. Not cool, cold, like the building held on to shade as a substance. There were desks piled in a corner, a chalkboard with smeared writing so faint it looked like the ghost of a sentence. Someone had spray painted something on the wall years ago, but the paint had run with rain until it looked like dripping veins.
Ew.
"Okay," I said, "this is legitimately creepy." He grinned, triumphant. "Told you." We took a break just outside the schoolhouse where the ground was flatter. He pulled a water bottle out, took a long drink, then immediately pulled out his phone. "Pictures," he said, "for proof." "For proof of what? That we're idiots?" He ignored me, angled his phone, and snapped a few shots with the flash. The light made the dark woods behind us look like a cardboard backdrop. "Stand there," he said, "by the door. Hold your light like you're investigating." I sighed, but I did it, because I'm not immune to being the guy in the photo. He took another shot, laughed, and checked the screen. Then his smile faltered.
Oh.
"What?" I asked. "Nothing," he said too fast. "Show me." He hesitated, then handed me the phone. The picture was normal at first glance. Me standing by the broken door, flashlight in hand, face caught mid-annoyance. But behind me, deeper into the woods, where the flash didn't fully reach, there were two pale dots, perfectly round, evenly spaced. Not reflective like a deer's eyes, not shimmering, just two little white points floating in the darkness, like someone had stuck pins through a black sheet.
Ooh.
My stomach dropped. "That's a raccoon," he said immediately, too loudly. "They do that." "A raccoon is down low," I said. "These are higher." He laughed, forcing it. "It's perspective. Come on." He took the phone back like he didn't want me holding it too long, like staring at it might make it real. We should have left then. If I'm honest, I wanted to. I had that gut heaviness, the one that says go home, even if your brain can't explain why. But he was already moving again, dragging me with his momentum. That's his gift. He can make you feel stupid for being cautious. We walked past the schoolhouse and into the heart of the old campground. There were trails branching off, some marked by dead wooden signs, some just faint impressions in the ground. "Where's the mess hall?" I asked. He pointed to the long, low building with the collapsed roof. That? As we got closer, the smell changed. Not rot, not mildew, something sharper, like old meat left in a cooler too long. He didn't seem to notice or pretended not to. We stepped into the mess hall through a gap in the wall where boards had fallen away. The roof sagged overhead like it was holding its breath. Inside, there were long tables flipped and broken. The kitchen area was gutted, appliances missing, tile ripped up. The floor was littered with debris and other things. Clothing, more clothing, a sock, a ripped flannel, a pair of jeans tangled around a chair leg like someone had stepped out of them mid-stride.
Oh.
My friend's voice went quieter. "Okay," he said, and for the first time he sounded like he actually believed himself. "That's not normal." I didn't answer. I was listening, because under the noise of our footsteps and the creak of the building, I thought I heard something else. A sound like wet breathing.
Ew.
Not in the room, in the walls. I turned my flashlight slowly, sweeping the beam across the corners. Nothing moved, but I couldn't shake the feeling that something had shifted its weight the moment my light passed over it, like you look away from the shadow and it changes shape. We got out of the mess hall fast. Outside, the light was lower now. Sunset creeping in. The sky beyond the trees had that bruised purple tint. That's when we heard the crying. At first, it was so faint that I thought it was wind or a bird doing a weird call. Then it sharpened. A human sob. A woman, maybe, breath catching on each sound like she was trying not to make noise and failing. My friend's eyes widened. "Dude," he whispered, like he was thrilled. I grabbed his sleeve. "Stop!" He froze, looking at me like I slapped him. That's what they said," he murmured. "The thread said..." "I don't care what the thread said," I cut in. "That's either someone hurt or someone messing with us or an animal that sounds human. Either way, we don't go toward it." He looked past me into the trees. The crying stopped. Silence snapped into place like a lid. Then somewhere further out, there was a scream. Oh. Not the earlier kind of scream you imagine in scary stories. This one was pain. It cut off too fast, like a switch. My friend went pale. "You heard that, right?" he said. "Yeah," I whispered. He swallowed hard. "We should go." I didn't argue. We started back the way we came, faster now, trying not to let it turn into a run, because running makes you loud and stupid. That's when I saw the hand. It wasn't in the open. It was half hidden behind the trunk of a pine, fingers wrapped around the bark like someone peeking around a door frame. Except the fingers were too long, and the nails, if they were nails, caught the last of the daylight and looked like dull bone. Claws. I stopped dead. My friend took 2 more steps before he noticed I wasn't beside him anymore. "What?" he said, annoyed. Then he saw my face and followed my gaze. The hand was gone. The tree was just a tree again. My friend forced a laugh that sounded like his throat didn't agree with it. "Okay," he said, "that's probably a branch, or..." "There were fingers," I said. He opened his mouth and closed it. We kept moving. Only now every tree felt like it had something behind it. We were about halfway back to the schoolhouse when the path dipped slightly and the trees opened up into a small clearing. And there it was, a deer. At first glance, it looked normal enough. Oh, standing in the clearing, head tilted slightly, ears forward. Then my brain caught up. It was too thin. Not just winter thin, starved thin. Ribs visible under patchy fur. Skin stretched tight over the bones like shrink wrap. Its legs looked wrong too. Long, spindly, joints seeming just a little too high. It stood perfectly still, watching us. My friend let out a nervous breath and tried to recover his vibe, trying to make it a joke again. "Look at this guy," he said, forcing a chuckle. "Bro looks like he owes money." I couldn't help it. Part of me laughed because humor is a pressure valve. The deer took a slow step toward us. I noticed its coat wasn't brown the way it should have been. In the fading light, it looked pale, grayish, like the color had been drained out and replaced with something dead.
Ew.
Ugh. Okay, my friend said, and now the joke was gone. That's not healthy. The deer's head tilted. Then it did something that made my stomach turn over. It smiled.
Ugh.
Not a deer expression, not that weird lip curl that some animals do. A smile that belonged to something that understood what a smile meant. My friend whispered, "What the?" The deer lifted its head, and for a second the angle of its jaw showed something that didn't fit. Skin that wasn't deer skin, pale, almost gray. And then it stepped closer, and I saw clearly enough that my brain tried to reject it. Under the deer's face, beneath the muzzle, where shadow should have been, there was a human face. Not attached like a mask someone wore, not dangling like a trophy. It was embedded, like the deer's skull had grown around it.
Ew.
Pale skin pulled tight, lips cracked, eyes half-lidded like it was asleep. But when it opened its mouth, the human face moved too, like they were sharing the same throat. My friend made a sound like he was trying not to throw up. "No," he whispered. "No, no, no." The deer took another step, close enough now that I could smell it. That same sharp, sick smell from the mess hall, like meat turned sour. I backed up slowly. My friend did too. The deer's ears twitched, and it lowered its head like it was going to charge. And because my friend was still trying to be a person in a situation that didn't allow it, he did the dumbest thing possible. He pointed at it and he said, voice shaky but loud, "Hey, get out of here!" The deer froze. The human face under it opened its eyes, and I swear to you, it looked directly at my friend. The deer's mouth opened. The sound that came out wasn't a deer noise. It was a voice. A woman's voice, ragged and thin. "Help me."
Oh, no.
My friend's face twisted, like every protective instinct he had was waking up at once. He took a step forward without thinking. I grabbed his arm. "No!" The deer's head jerked sharply, like it didn't like being ignored. Then it moved, not like an animal, like something that had been waiting for permission. It lunged, but not at my friend, at me. I barely had time to throw an arm up before something hit me with the force of a car crash. I felt claws, not imagined now, real, rake across my forearm, tearing through fabric and skin. Pain flashed hot, immediate, and my flashlight flew out of my hand, tumbling into the dirt. I fell hard onto my back, the air punched out of me. The world tilted, trees and sky spinning. I tried to scramble up, but the deer was already on top of me, only it wasn't a deer anymore. Its body twisted in a way that didn't make sense, like its spine had too many joints, like it could fold itself into shapes animals can't. The human face under its muzzle opened its mouth wider than a human mouth should be able to open, and the voice that came out changed. It became my friend's voice. "Dude, come on, help me!" My friend froze. I saw it happen in real time, his brain trying to process his own voice coming from that, and that hesitation was all it needed. The thing lifted one hoof, except it wasn't a hoof. The end of its leg split and spread like fingers,
Ew.
tipped with dark, blunt nails, and slammed it down beside my head like it was pinning me, like it knew exactly how to keep me from moving. Then it turned on my friend. My friend shouted my name and rushed forward like an idiot hero, swinging his backpack like it was a weapon. The creature didn't flinch. It snapped its head down and bit him. Not a deer bite, not a nip. A full mouth clamp on his shoulder that lifted him off his feet. I heard that noise I just made. I heard his bones make a sound I still hear when it's quiet. He screamed, and the scream turned into choking, wet panic. The creature shook him once like a dog with a toy. Then it threw him. He hit the ground hard, rolled, tried to get up, and the creature was already on him again. I forced myself to move. My arm burned. Blood slicked down my wrist. My fingers felt numb, like my hand didn't belong to me anymore. I crawled toward my flashlight and grabbed it with my good hand, beam wobbling wildly as I aimed it at them. The light hit the creature's side, and I got the long look I didn't want. Its body was deer-shaped, but wrong in every detail. Emaciated ribs under sparse fur, pale gray skin stretched tight like it was wearing its own body as a costume.
Ew.
Along its flank, patches of skin looked almost human, smooth, hairless, too pale. And the face, that human face under the deer's muzzle, wasn't a dead thing stitched on. It was alive. The eyes rolled, the mouth worked, lips trembling like it was trying to speak separately. It looked terrified. It looked trapped. Then it smiled again, and the smile wasn't the trapped faces, it was the creatures. Something deeper behind it, something wearing that face like bait. My friend was on the ground trying to crawl away, leaving a dark smear in the dirt. Mm-hmm. He looked at me, eyes wide, panic turning into pure pleading. "Run!" he gasped. The creature lifted its head and stared at me. For a second, we locked eyes, and I understood something without knowing how I knew it. It had been following us the whole time. The clothes weren't random, they were a trail, a way to keep us moving deeper, a way to make us curious, to keep us from turning back too soon. The crying, the screams, the voices, all of it was a leash. The creature let out a sound that wasn't a screech, not yet, more like a breathy laugh in a throat that didn't know how to laugh. Then it stepped toward me. I did the only thing I could think of. I shoved the flashlight beam straight into its face and screamed. Not at it, just screamed, raw and animal, like volume could become force. The creature recoiled for half a second, his head jerking back, the human face under it blinking rapidly like it hated the light. That half second was enough. I got up, I ran. I didn't think, I didn't pick a direction. I just ran toward where I thought the schoolhouse was, because the path back had to be near it. Behind me, my friend screamed again. The sound cut off too fast, like a switch. No. I didn't look back. I heard something behind me, though. Footsteps, but not normal. Too light for its size, too fast. Then the voice came again, right behind my ear, perfect and calm. My own voice. "Stop running." My stomach flipped. I stumbled, nearly fell, caught myself on a tree. My injured arm screamed pain as bark scraped open the cuts. I kept going. The schoolhouse appeared ahead like a miracle, its broken outline against the trees. I sprinted towards it, burst around the corner, and nearly slammed into the wall because my legs were shaking too hard to steer. I fumbled my phone out with my numb fingers. No service. I wasn't surprised. I still felt betrayed. I shoved it back and grabbed my car keys because keys are something solid and real and my brain needed that. I ran past the schoolhouse, back toward the main path, toward the entrance. The woods felt different now, too quiet, like everything had stopped to watch. I could hear my own breath, ragged and loud. I could hear my heartbeat. I could hear something else too, soft, quick steps keeping pace just out of my peripheral vision. I caught a glimpse of movement to my left, a shape behind the trees, not fully visible, just the suggestion of long limbs and pale skin and that white dot stare. I ran harder. My lungs burned, my vision tunneled. Tears streaked my face without me realizing I was crying. Then the path opened up and I saw the parking lot. The car sat where we left it, dull and innocent under the dead light. I hit the driver's side door and yanked it open so hard it almost bounced back. I didn't even close it. I just threw myself inside, slammed the keys into the ignition, and turned. The engine coughed once.
No.
Nothing. My blood went cold. I turned again, harder, like force could make it behave. The engine sputtered and caught. I didn't waste a second. I threw it into reverse, tires spitting gravel. As I backed out, I saw it. At the edge of the lot, half in the trees, the deer stood watching. Except now it wasn't pretending as well. Its head hung at a wrong angle, neck bent like it had too many hinges. The human face under it was slack and open mouthed like it was mid-cry. 2 white dots stared at me from the dark behind the face, not eyes reflecting light, eyes that looked like they produced their own. The deer stepped forward, and the voice came again, my friend's voice, soft and broken like it was right outside my window. Wait. It sounded like him on his worst day. It sounded like him calling me back from a doorway. My hands shook so badly I nearly lost the wheel. I hit the gas. The car jerked forward, gravel spraying. I didn't stop until I hit the main road. Then I kept going until the trees thinned and I saw street lights and someone else's headlights, and I finally felt like the world belonged to humans again. I pulled into the first gas station I saw and stumbled into the bathroom, shaking and staring at my arm in the mirror. 4 long claw marks, deep, angry red, already swelling. My sleeve was shredded and stuck to my skin with blood. I washed it as best as I could with trembling hands, wrapped it in paper towels like that would somehow make it less real, and sat on the curb outside until my breathing slowed. I called 911 the moment I had service. I told them everything, but you know how it sounds when you say it out loud. Abandoned campground, weird deer, human face, my friend. Silence on the line while the dispatcher tried to decide where to put me in their mental filing cabinet. They sent deputies, search and rescue, park rangers, the whole machine. They found the campground. They found the schoolhouse. They found the mess hall with the clothes. They found my flashlight. They did not find my friend.
Oh.
They said there were no tracks consistent with an animal attack. They said the clothing looked like unauthorized campers, and they said that they'd continue searching, quote unquote. And the last thing the lead ranger asked me, quietly, like he didn't want the deputies to hear this, was, "Did it try to talk to you?" I stared at him. He didn't look surprised when I didn't answer right away. He just nodded slowly, like he already knew. They shut down the area hard after that. More fencing, more signs, patrols. People online say it's because of vandalism and unsafe structures, but I know what's out there, and I know what it can do with a voice. Because 3 nights after it happened, while I was sitting on my couch with my arm wrapped and my phone clenched in my hand like a lifeline, I got a text from an unknown number. No message, just a photo, a dark picture taken with flash. It showed the broken schoolhouse door, and in the doorway, barely caught by the light, was a deer-shaped body with pale gray skin and a human face hanging under its muzzle. The human face was looking straight at the camera. Its eyes were wet. And behind it, deeper in the darkness, were 2 white dots, steady and unblinking, watching from inside the building like it was someone's home now. I deleted the photo. Then I turned my phone off, like that matters. Damn. Okay, and by the way, obviously that was not a true story. I thought those were today's, but I think those are next week's are the true stories.
Okay.
I think these were the creepypastas.
Okay.
But yeah, that was really intense. That was really, really well written.
And sweaty.
You're sweaty? Oh no. The girl who's always cold is sweaty. That's saying something.
Yeah, like my hands
very,
are
very good job. What was it? Pentyworth 223.
Thank you.
And thank you for letting us read it. We really appreciate it.
Yes, we do.
Yes. So we have one more story, and it is for you to read.
Okay. So this one's called I'm at War with My Neighbor by I Go by KK. So it's I_go_by_KK.
Why do I feel like this one is true? No, maybe not. Just read it and we'll figure it out. We'll find out.
Okay. I live in Appalachia. I've always lived here. I've always been aware of the haints that are my neighbor. Okay, hang on a second, because I'm not sure what a haint is, so I kind of want to look it up real quick.
Do it.
All right. So in Appalachian folklore, a haint is a restless, often malevolent spirit or ghost that lingers to cause misfortune, sickness, or mischief, distinct from a mere passive spirit. So, got it.
Okay,
Cool. All right. So, I've always been aware of the haints that are my neighbors. They are aware of me too. Nope. When I was young, they used to terrify me. Eyes within the trees, whispers that sound like human voices mixed with the howling winds. When the birds go silent, you become acutely aware of the fact that you are trespassing on your neighbor's property and you are not welcome. Unlike people, haints don't use guns to defend themselves. As I grew older, I grew a deep appreciation for them. This has been their home much longer than it has been mine. The Appalachian Mountains are older than we can dream of. Older than bones and even the sea. When you're quiet and still, you can speak to the bones. The ground itself talks in a voice with no sound, communicating to your soul, not your conscious mind.
Have you ever been to the Appalachian Mountains? I have to, like, the lower part, like at the north of Georgia, like North Georgia. That was really hard for me to say, but it has a different vibe.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it's a creepy vibe, but for me it was like a calling me to it vibe.
Oh,
you know, like
okay.
not like creepily, but like I like that kind of...
It has a draw.
It does. It has a draw for me. So.
Okay.
Yeah, anyway, so continue.
All right. So when I first bought my own property with my husband, I made it clear to the Haints that I was going to inhabit this property as it was my own. I gave them gifts of milk and sugar, woven baskets, and carved charms set with the intentions and phrases my mama taught. Right?
That's really sweet. I love you for that.
Passed down from the 10 generations my family had lived here. Then I set my wards. Valid. Nails taken from the corner boards of my house, salted and blessed with my own blood. My husband isn't from here originally, so he thought it was a bit of an extreme response, but he didn't protest. He declined my offers to add him to the wards. I wasn't pleased with that. I'd no intention of forcing him, though.
Can I just interject real quick?
Okay.
My husband has gotten to the point where he just goes along with any little ritual that I'm like, I can come at him and with 3 ingredients and be like, hold these in your hands and say this prayer to the spirit and blah, blah, blah. I can say whatever the fuck I want and he's gonna do it. He's like, okay, yeah. Oh, and every time I smoke cleanse the house, he's like, hey, can you cleanse me? Comes at me with his arms up. And when I was hoarding eggshells.
Yeah.
I literally had a box on top of our fridge of crushed eggshells because every time we ate eggs for like over a year, I would crush them. And we had chickens. We had 19 chickens. So I had a lot of fucking eggs. But so, because I wanted to put a eggshell barrier around our house for protection.
Hey.
And this motherfucker crushed his eggshells in my box and helped me along my way.
That's love, man.
That's love, man. Sorry, continue.
All right. He didn't believe my stories for the first year. It wasn't until the things in our house would go missing, only to be shortly returned after I served up honey milk to the Haint living with us, that he started to believe. He never confirmed it out loud, but the change in his disposition was clear. He began to hear the things in the woods. I told him time and time again there was no fear to be had as long as we respected them the same way they respected us. Yet he still refused to be out past sundown. We no longer hosted bonfires or watched the fireflies after the trout-bellied sky sank beneath the horizon. I understood the fear he held, the paralysis of realizing you're being watched cautiously by things beyond your comprehension. The apex predator is aware you are stepping on its territory and it may pounce at any moment. It wasn't until the screams started that I became nervous as well. I heard the screams before, almost woman-like, yet oddly inhuman.
Ooh.
It had been many years since I'd felt the dread they inspired, the need to flee. My husband froze, still as a rabbit on its haunches, waiting to see what the hound will do. I guided his arm inside and locked the door, salting the windows and door. I was confident in my wards, but that did not mean I was somehow stronger than whatever this was.
Right.
As far as I knew, the wards could be completely useless. The Haints run by their own rules. Oh, I'm getting goosebumps. Okay. The words of my father from my childhood stuck in my head. That ain't how a woman screams, go inside. He said it with such a serious face as if he was warning me, not just keeping me away from a fox or a mountain lion. When we heard the deer screaming in agony 2 days later, his eyes darkened and he turned his back to the woods with resolve. He kept the shotgun by the door for a month after that, something I was now doing too. We lived that way for 6 months. This Haint, unwilling to live amicably with me like so many others, terrorized my husband the most. He woke up screaming most nights, some night terror breaking his mind slowly but surely. I was beginning to grow angry. I had made good faith offerings, burnt meat in a fire just outside my bounds.
Yeah, you did all sorts of shit for them.
Honey bread and homemade meads, yet the Haint accepted none of it. All was spoiled and rotten by morning, a rude rejection and a statement to me. It only stoked the flames in my own soul. This was my home, just as it was the Haint's, and I would not allow it to terrorize my loved one. It began killing my chickens. Nope, not the chickens. That was when I decided it was war. I responded in earnest, upping my words tenfold, saying nightly prayers, calling upon the friendly neighbors for aid. I did not like calling upon them. It always came at a cost. I was growing more rapidly aware of the fact that if I did not, this haint would kill us. It was not content to only feed off the discomfort. It craved the taste of flesh. My chickens were not a satisfactory substitute. I saw it for the first time 3 years into us living here. It stood at the edge of my wards, careful not to step over them, yet seemingly testing the bounds. Its appearance is difficult to describe, but I will do my best. Deer are prey animals. Their eyes are set on the side of their heads just to give them near complete 360-degree vision. Their legs are made for running and hold immense ability to spring into jumps over creek beds and brush as they escape hunters. This beast did not hold those features. Its eyes were front set, pitch black with absolutely no glint as the porch light hit them. It stood taller at the shoulder than a normal deer, nearly as tall as the willow it towered near. Its mouth was wrong, slitted and barely masking the shape of sharpened teeth. It moved its head like a cat, cocked its head to one side like a dog, chittered like a fox, stepped like a mountain lion.
It's a knot deer.
What I found most...
It's not a haint, it's a knot deer.
It's a knot deer? Yeah. What if it's the same?
What if haints are knot deers? Knot deers are haints? What came first, the chicken or the egg? I don't know. Sorry, continue.
What I found most uncanny were its legs. They were not the slender, graceful legs of a deer. They were muscular. The legs of a predator, not prey. It pawed the ground with a ferocity that spoke to its power, one I did not want to cross. The antlers upon its head were sharper than nature intended, the shredded velvet coat with dried blood. I suppose it could have meant it sheds its antlers like a normal deer, but deep in my bones I knew they were attached to its skull like horns. I did something then that many would consider stupid. My husband was deep asleep, tired after a day's work and exhausted from ongoing torment. So as quietly as I could, I slipped out the back door and walked to it. Oh my goodness. It seemed surprised I had chosen this route. It took several steps back, cautiously watching my hands as if I were going to pull a revolver and silver bullets from my pockets. I did not. I held the leftover pork from the night's meal. I placed it upon the ground and pushed it with a branch across the ward line. It regarded me with interest, unsure of what my motive was. For the first time, it bowed its head and ate. I took it as a sign of truce, at least in that moment. I spoke to it, introduced myself, my lineage, introduced it to the bones of my kin, who now walk the deep earth of the mountain, same as the haints. I have the chilly willies. God. I asked it as simply as possible, what do you seek out of this? Its head shifted and clicked, the teeth in its mouth showing as if it was grinning. I want him.
What?
The words took me aback. My husband, the outsider who had done no conceivable harm to anything here, who had been respectful as I told him to be, who'd followed every rule. Why? I did not bother to hide the shock or animosity in my voice. How well do you truly know the man you have bound yourself to? How much do you know of his history, of the path his kin have passed to him? How confident are you that that man is a good one? You will find me when you decide. That is, if it's not too late. The voice that spoke to me did not come from vocal cords. It traveled up my spine, the voice of the grave dirt beneath my feet, seeking revenge of ages. It regarded me one final time before its shadowy form sank into the darkest part of the tree line. I chewed on its words for several days, told myself that it was meaning to make me paranoid, distrustful of my husband. If that was its intent, it was working. I could not hope to view him the same way. I watched his every move and reconsidered everything he told me. I watched as he snapped at me over small things, something I'd once blamed on the haint tormenting us. I re-examined the ways he drank, unable to sleep or feel much without it. I considered the way he chopped wood as if it had done something to him, an intense anger just beneath the surface. I listened to the words he spoke in his sleep, realizing they were not words in response to the haint, but someone from his past. I began to wonder if the haint was his reckoning. I spent a month pondering what to do. I sat by my ward lines night after night, waiting for the haint to speak to me again. It never came. I could hear it, feel it just beyond the capabilities of my sight, even felt as if I made eye contact with it a few times. He's starting to become paranoid of me as well. I feel his eyes upon me when my back is turned. I see the way his knuckles go white as he grasps knives at dinner time. I see the way his jaw tightens when I speak. I'm beginning to wonder if I've been fighting the wrong war, if the isolation I once considered sanctuary will become my grave.
What?
I broke my ward last night. It was on pure impulse. My mama would scold me if she could see the way I went about it. I dug it up under the cover of the night and felt the cold wash of surrounding neighbors overtake me. I heard the sounds of the stag chittering with the fox-like voice. Then I went to bed. I do not know how long I have until this war ends. I do not know which side I am on. All I know is I clutch my protection necklace much more tightly, and I no longer sleep at night. I watch and whisper to the haints I call my neighbors. Okay, so that was part 1.
What the fuck?
Oh, I have the chilly willies.
Yeah.
So next week we are going to cover the second part.
Yay!
Part 2!
I love it. I love part 2s. They make me happy.
Yes.
I don't know why. Most people, I think, get annoyed with them, but I hope you don't.
No, because it gives you something to look forward to.
It does. Forward. We were just talking about this. About
Such a hard time
about
with that
how
word.
both of us have words, like mine is both, that we say in a weird way.
Yes.
And I've noticed it now that I'm editing this and editing all of our, like, listening to our voice over and over. Anyways. Oh, I wanted to tell you a story, though, about when we lived in Washington. So, there's flesh pedestrians. Do you know what I'm talking about?
No.
Okay. Because you're not supposed to say the word. But the first word is, like, another word for dermis.
Oh, okay. Yeah, I know.
Okay. And then,
Yep.
yeah, and then the next word is not running, but a
Slower pace.
than running. Okay. So anyways, they're like notorious up there.
Yeah.
And we lived out in the country, and one night we had let our dogs outside to go potty, and it was like just had gotten dark.
I'm already saying nope.
Yeah. And we let our dogs out to go potty, and we heard this. It sounded like something trying to sound like an animal that was dying. Like, it sounded like an animal that was screaming, but it wasn't animal enough. You know, it was too human sounding almost. Like, it was crazy. And my husband goes running out there with a gun, and I'm like, get your ass inside right now. I was like, well, you don't hear anything. I don't hear anything. What are you even talking about? Get inside. I don't know what you're talking about. And I just like rush everybody back inside. And then when I got inside, I explained to him, I'm like, if you hear something, no, you didn't.
You didn't.
You did not hear it. So then another night, it was Emily's birthday, and I had set up a tent in our backyard.
Yeah.
And we were going to sleep in the tent. Well, everyone ditched me, so I was out there by myself. And so I woke up at like 3, 4, somewhere in there.
Yeah.
And I heard someone whistling, and I heard footsteps walk across the yard right next to the tent. And then hit the gravel. No more noise. No one walking across the gravel. So I laid there silent, and I had a gun under my pillow just in case, because, you know, we have bears and wildcats and all sorts of shit out there. So I'm like gripping my gun, like freaking out for a second, and I heard nothing. And I sat there for a good 10 minutes, like just listening, and heard nothing else. And so I was like, I didn't hear anything, and I ended up falling back asleep. Like, what kind of psychotic person falls back asleep after that?
A flashback to our camping trip where I had to sleep with a knife under my pillow because you wouldn't sleep.
Well, this time I did. I fell back asleep. And next thing I knew, I woke up and it was daylight, and I was like, what the fuck? I'm glad I'm not dead. Shit.
I can't with you.
But anyways, Thanks for listening.
Yeah, that was our little mini story time at the end.
Yeah. Oh, if you have any stories, please do send them to us. We love being able to read stories from people, and we will accept them on any direct message, even on any socials, or if you want to email it, send it to
ofmaliceandmirth@gmail.com.
Yep, that's the one.
But it doesn't have to be spooky. It can be super funny stuff too.
Because we need palate cleansers. And next week is all ones that people have sent in or Reddit user ones, but we're doing all true stories next week.
Yeah.
So that's where I got mixed up earlier. But we're doing all true stories next week, so that'll be really fun.
Yay! I'm excited.
Yes. And we still have room for more stories.
Yes.
If you send them in now.
Yeah, that'd be awesome. And then if you haven't done so already, we would greatly appreciate some likes, some subscribes, some
follows,
whatevers.
All of the things.
All the loves.
Friend us.
Yeah.
We'll be your friend.
Forever.
Will you be my neighbor? Did you see the Lady Gaga singing Will You Be My Neighbor commercial?
No.
Oh, it was so heartwarming.
That was during
the Super Bowl.
I don't
Oh, you didn't
sports.
watch it? Oh, yeah. Okay. Well, never mind then. It was a heartwarming commercial.
Maybe I'll YouTube it later.
Where she sang the Mr. Rogers song.
I do like that song.
Yeah. Anyways, okay. Well, we will talk to you next week.
Alrighty. That's all we got.
All right. Yeah.
Okay. Love you. Bye.